Hello, everybody. First thing, if you need to stand up, if you need to move around, don't feel like you can't, please do so. So I just want to let you know, because everybody's been so perfectly still. I'm like, how is everybody doing this? I got to get up myself. So if you need to do that, please do it. So today I'm going to talk about being your own best advocate, communicating with your healthcare providers, and also how to overcome some of the challenges that we deal with through our insurance companies in trying to receive better access to care. The first thing is patient rights. So as a patient, you have rights that should be happening when you see the doctor, but sometimes they don't always happen in the best of manner. So when you go into a provider's office and you're getting care, take a deep breath, think about what you want to talk about, go in with a plan. In a few minutes I'm going to show you what I go to my doctor with, so you can get an idea of what I mean by having that plan. Speak clearly, try to get your emotions under control before you start talking. I know a lot of times, and especially in the very beginning, it took me 3 years to get a proper diagnosis for my reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And in that 3 years, I saw 42 providers. I would go in and they would say I'm hysterical. I just wanted answers. I followed every direction that they gave me to do, and I still was not getting the answers that I need. I went through surgeries. I went through having my rib removed. I went through lung collapses, tumors in my mouth from a medication complication, everything that could go wrong. But I followed my doctors to the word. The doctors are good. They go to school. They're educated. You have to respect that side of it, but they should also be giving you respect as the patient and listening to what you say. So know that you have the right to be listened to, the right to be heard, and the right to your medical records in most cases. So you also want to have a fast access to a proper diagnosis. It shouldn't be taking 3 years. On average, a patient sees about 7 providers before they get the correct diagnosis. For me, the 43rd doctor was the right one. So again, you know yourself best. You know if something's different. You know if something's wrong. Stand up for yourself and make sure that you are getting the treatment that you know that you need, whether it's with your provider, the insurance company, or even if you're advocating on a legislative level in your state or on a federal level to get better access to care, not only for yourself but for others. And really respect the person who's treating you, but know that you have a voice. You have that right. Speak up. Be the patient voice. You also have some responsibilities as a patient. And so you have to do your homework. You see the doctor for maybe 15 minutes, most of us, at a visit. And you want to make sure that you're organized and that you are doing your responsibilities, not just in the office, but for the 30 or 45 days until your next appointment. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you following the plan that you and your providers put together so that you can live the best daily life possible? Expect to get the best treatment from what your doctors are providing you. If it's not working, look for other alternatives. Don't just say, oh, I've had this treatment for the last 5 years. This is what my doctor offers, so I'm going to stick with this. There's always new medications, new treatment options, infusion therapy, chiropractics. There's always something new. I've had patients online say, I've done everything. There's nothing left for me to try. And I say, okay, well, here's a list of 100 different treatment options, and I'll get, oh, well, I haven't tried all of them then. There is so many things that are coming out. Don't get complacent. This is the best it's ever going to get. There's always something new coming out. There's research, and there's researchers working on new things that are getting passed down to the providers at provider education conferences, and then hopefully on to the patient. But if you never ask your doctor, hey, since you prescribed this medication for me 5 years ago, has anything better come out? Anything that could help me more? Don't just rely on, okay, the doctor gave me this 5 years ago and I'm going to take this same pill for the rest of my life, because there's new treatments. There's other things that you can do, other things that you can try. In trying to pay your medical bills, a lot of you, including myself, have issues with insurance, or I can't get that treatment because I can't get my insurance to cover it. Always, always, always appeal. Always appeal. most of the time, my dad taught me this. Both my parents were military. My mom was a colonel. She just passed away a few months ago. My father was a major, and then he worked 20 years in the, as a civilian for the military. And he said that when people would come in, he did logistics. When people would come in, they would say, I need a tank, a telephone, a bed, a this, a that, whatever they were asking for that they needed for when they were going into the field. And he said, I would turn everybody down on their first request. Saves money for the military. And he said 80% of the people would go away when they would never say anything else. They would just go away. And the 20% that stayed and said, but no, I need this, I want this, we have to have it, those are the people that he granted it to the next time on their second request. And that's kind of what our insurance companies do. So really, really, I encourage all of you to appeal what you're doing with your insurance. And also, when I went to go get my infusion therapy, the hospital told me that my insurance wasn't going to cover it. Okay, so I held fundraisers outside of Power Pain Foundation, totally separate on my own. I held fundraisers. I didn't quite raise enough. I needed $18,000. I raised $12,000. I had to get a loan for the other portion because my bed came open. I wanted my infusions. So I took out a loan, and I thought that $18,000 was going to be my bill. And I went into the hospital in a wheelchair. 7 days later, I got out. 2 weeks later, I got a booster, and then I flew home, and I got my stack of mail from the post office. And my bills for my infusion weren't $18,000, as they told me it was going to be. It was $114,000 for 7 days. So I said, well, my house isn't even worth $114,000, so they're never going to get paid. I don't know how they're going to get this from me. But I said, well, what could I do? And I sent it to my insurance company, even though the hospital told me my insurance wasn't going to cover it. I sent it on my own. I filled out the paperwork on my own. I took records from the hospital stay, submitted them with my bill. They paid all of it except $100. So I got a refund of $17,900. So it pays to appeal. And if you have a bill that's crazy, send it to your insurance. Just because the doctor isn't contracted with your policy, or just because they tell you that they're not going to pay for it, doesn't mean that they won't pay for it. The people who speak up and say, I want help, you need to help me get this treatment, are the people who get the treatment. So, and I didn't have to, I submitted it once to the insurance. They saw, I went into the hospital in a wheelchair, and I walked out 7 days later. Why would they not pay for that? It got me off all my pain medication. It got me active again in life. I got involved with the Power Pain Foundation. My family started the Power Pain Foundation in my honor and in my stepsister who passed away from RSD complications in her memory. And then I was able to get up and go and speak and do these types of events because I was my own best advocate, and I encourage you to be your own best advocate as well. Thank you. So one of the things in the beginning that I didn't understand is how to explain my symptoms to a doctor. What do you say to your doctor? I would say, I hurt. Where? All this hurts. Okay, what does that mean, Barbie? It just hurts, so stop the hurt. Stop the pain. It's burning fire pain. And then that was like a click. It's burning fire pain. Adjectives, the doctor liked that. The doctors like when you describe what you're going through. The more adjectives you can give them to describe what you're going through, the better treatment options they can offer you. Because different things work for different people. And if you're able to say, well, now I have full body RSD, my right side hurts worse than my left side, I not only have the burning fire pain, which now I keep pretty under control, but prior to, I was able to say, but I don't just have burning fire pain. I also have electric pain, like somebody is hitting me with lightning. And it can happen anywhere in my body, and I never know where it's going to hit or when. So I could be at a birthday party for my nephew, and all of a sudden I'm like, ah! Because I got hit with electricity that nobody else can see. And they're like, why does Aunt Barbie yell? So I wrote a book about it. But being able to use your vocabulary and talk about your pain and what type of pain. And it feels like a jackhammer on my back. It feels like this. I experience this. Sometimes it's intermittent. The burning pains all the time. These other ones come and go. They really need to hear that. Not only your providers, but your families too. There's also these other symptoms. And I had a doctor write in my notes one time that my symptoms were bizarre. Literally wrote the word bizarre in my medical records. But they also wrote down what I look like and my attitude and all the psychological stuff that goes along with it. So, like Gracie said this morning, I've gone to the doctor. If I don't feel good, I'll go in my pajamas. I don't care. I will go to the grocery store in my pajamas. Whatever is comfortable, whatever is working for me so that I can have a better moment, a better day, a better week, whatever it is that I can extend that to, I'm okay with not putting makeup on. I have mascara on right now. I'm okay. You really need to know and learn what you're comfortable with and how to share your symptoms and things that you would not think are involved, like dizziness, vertigo. Well, all of a sudden, before getting my infusion therapy, this floor would have given me vertigo, and I would fall over. I've been doing presentations where I literally have fallen over, had a seizure during a presentation. It really can affect your life, but if you don't know that it's part of the disease that you're dealing with, how do you talk to your doctor about that? You have to research and understand the symptoms you're going through, why you're going through them, and the vascular constriction, ischemia. I have cardiac ischemia and intestinal ischemia as secondary conditions. So you really want to know your disease and be able to explain it and use your, well, in this case, nouns. But in the case of pain, use your verbs. Your adjectives, and explain, and your verbs too. Connect your sentences. So you really want to understand the symptoms. This next part's one of my favorite parts. And I know it was a hit last year when I did this presentation for this conference last year. I love my marching pennies. This is my penny principle. I came up with it after having coaches my whole life tell me, no deposit, no return. I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete since I was 4 years old, all the way until I was 29, and I developed RSD. I coached at Washington State, go Cougs. Sorry, Cougar. And so I took what I learned from cheerleading and turned it into the penny principle, where every day you only get a certain number of pennies. There's another theory that I've heard similar, the spoon theory. But every day you get a certain number of pennies. If you're healthy, like I was, doing backflips and getting tossed 30 feet in the air, you don't ever have to think about your energy pennies. Your energy pennies are there. When you have a chronic disease, you only get a certain number a day. So like I know I'm going to be speaking today. I took this week off as much as possible. People are like, what are you doing? I'm resting. Why aren't you posting on Facebook? I'm resting. So I took those pennies and saved them up for today. And I fly home tonight, and tomorrow I can crash again to save up my pennies. But normally you only get 12 pennies a day. You have to decide, do I want to make breakfast or do I want to take a shower? Am I going to go to the doctor? At the doctor's office, what are they going to be doing for me? Is it going to be an actual treatment where I leave with less pain, or is it going to be something that causes me additional pain because they're going to be doing testing and poking and prodding? So learning how to spend your energy pennies. Say you have 12 pennies a day. How am I going to spend these pennies? What am I going to do to make this day, this moment, the best that it can be? Because you are responsible for you. Okay? Don't take the guilt of somebody else saying, well, you should be at this birthday party. Well, okay, I'm glad it's at your house because I can show up for 10 minutes and I can leave when I need to. Oh, you keep your house too cold? I'm going to bring a blanket. If you don't like that I bring a blanket, sorry, I need energy pennies. Do you want me to be part of this event, or do you not want me to be part of this event? You know, setting an expectation with the people around you that these are all the pennies I get. With my I have 7 nephews and a niece. With my 4 oldest nephews, they're afraid. Aunt Barbie hurts. Do not touch her. Do not come around her. Don't talk to her. Because she has pain. She hurts. She's this thing over in the corner. And then I got diagnosed, and I started going through treatments that were helping me. And my younger 3 nephews and my niece is just a little over a year old. She says, "Stay, Aunt Barbie." like, none of my other nephews did that, but my three younger nephews and my niece are all about Aunt Barbie, Aunt Barbie, Aunt Barbie. And it's such a good feeling to have that connection with them. And they know, okay, when Barbie comes, we have to give her a break. We have to turn down the lights. We have to put our noisy toys away. We have to clean up all the toys around the floor so Barbie doesn't step on them. Sometimes Barbie needs a break during the day, so we can't play all day with Barbie because she's going to need to take a break. And we set the expectation with them, and we have the best relationship. So if you can set that expectation with your family members, and family can be the person who's blood related, or they can be the family that you make with the people that you meet at your support groups and your outings and your jobs, and if you have a job, your caregivers, friends. Set the expectation with everybody in your life so that they know this is, Barbie's not rude, Barbie's not mean, Barbie wants to be around, but sometimes Barbie has to take a break. So letting them know that is really important. Setting that expectation is really important. So this is the pain scale that providers use, and it's 1 through 10, and don't lie. How many pain patients are in here? Okay. How many of you have told a doctor when he says, or she says, on a pain scale of 1 to 10, what is your pain? And you say 11, 15, 20, raise your hands, 100 off the scale. 36, that sounds like 36. 36, okay. Well, in a doctor and a provider's mind, that doesn't exist. They say you're catastrophizing. It means nothing to them. Unless you speak the same language as your provider, you are not going to get the help that you need. You got to speak the same language. So if you compare it to 0, no pain, 10, the worst pain you can think of, 7, unable to do most activities because of pain. If you put it into these numbers and what these mean, you are going to get better help from your providers, from your physical therapists, from everybody that's treating you. If you do not use these words in this scale, the provider is not going to be understanding what you're trying to tell them. And when you say 100 or even 11, a provider's like, it means nothing. So you really have to talk their language so that you get the treatment that you need and deserve. Oh, one more thing on that slide. So this over here on the right side of the screen, I have a learning disability. On the right side of the screen, this scale, a lot of times, they use it for pediatrics, but somehow they started using it in hospitals to assess anybody. And when a chronic pain patient walks in to a hospital, they'll say, what's your pain? You say it's a 9, it's a 10, and they're like, but you're smiling. But you're smiling. You're not crying and bent over and curled up. Well, sometimes you are. But say that you're trying to put on a brave face. You're trying not to cry in front of the doctor so that they'll treat your disease instead of treating your mental state. Because you go to the hospital to get treated for your disease. But if you're emotionally unstable at the moment, they're going to treat that first, which is what they're supposed to do. But you tell them what you are inside. Inside, I'm all the way at the top. On the outside, I'm putting on a brave face. Communicate with them. Because they're looking at this little scale here, and it should be used for pediatrics, for babies, and it's being used for our population, adult population. So this is my one-pager. It's usually a piece of paper, not a square. But what I do every time I go to the doctor, I put a list of my medications, I put what my dose is, and I put how often I take it, and I say my daily meds, my meds when needed. When I have a bad reaction to a medication, I started keeping track of what the bad reaction was, because one time I took a medication, I got pregnancy tumors and kidney stones from the medication in 2004. And I went to a different doctor in 2005 before I was diagnosed, and he said, well, I want to try you on this medication. I was like, I've heard of that medication before. I think I tried it, but I can't remember what happened. And less than a month later, I remembered kidney stones and tumors in my mouth. Pregnancy tumors. I'm like, I had a hysterectomy, I have endometriosis. I couldn't have a baby. I'm not pregnant. Are you sure? I'm sure. So it really is important to keep track of the ones that you have a complication with and how bad the complication is. Like for iodine, shellfish, and seafood, I'm anaphylactic and bee stings. I keep an EpiPen with me. They need to know that. Or OxyContin, I get a rash and ringing in my ears. They need to know what type of reaction that these things have given you. Topamax makes you out of your mind. Well, it made me out of my mind. My lawyer called one day and he's like, something's wrong with you, go to the hospital. It's like, what? I don't understand. So it's really important. It's really important to make sure that you're keeping a list of those bad reactions. Also, when you're appealing, which I'll talk about in a little bit, step therapy, it helps with that as well. I also list my recent issues, my recent tests and procedures that other doctors have performed on me between the time that I went to this particular provider and the last. I list my continuing issues and the things that I'm experiencing and having problems with. And they always ask you for your past surgeries. And this is not even, my surgery page is probably a third of the bottom of my page in type 8 print because I've had so many procedures. And when I go to their office, I write "see attached," and I give them my one-pager. I'm changing healthcare in America, people. And I don't have to sit there and fill out their form and take the time, especially that my right hand's more affected than my left hand, and that's my dominant hand. All I have to write is "see attached," and they have it. So that's what I do, and I also say "given to," and I list the doctors that I've given it to, so that the next time, this is a saved form, the next time I open up the last form, I make any changes I need to make, change who I'm giving it to, and save with the new date. Barby's med form, whatever the date is. So each time, I just print my form and go with it. So that is my time. Is that really my time? It's 2:45? Wow. Okay, so now this is the part, Power of Pain gets grant money. I'm going to speed through this so we can get set up with the panel. Or you can set up the panel while I'm doing this. But I have to say this because they paid us, so just so you know, they didn't pay me, they paid Power of Pain Foundation. But I'm going to say this anyway. Access to care issues. The first one is OIC, opiate-induced constipation. If you're on opiates, this is different than having regular constipation and GI issues, okay? And so it's really important to know that there is help. One of the blogs that I like to go on and type blog posts on is oic.com. And I like it because it has helped me learn the difference between, you know, why I'm having constipation while I'm not taking opiates, and then like this past March when I was in the hospital, they gave me morphine for the first time since 2009, and that backed me up for like 20-something days, and I'm complaining to the doctor, I need help, I need help, I need help, this hurts, feel like I'm pregnant. And so it's really important. You can move chairs and stuff, right? Okay. Fail first, step therapy is something that insurance companies do to help save themselves costs. For me, I fought step therapy twice. I won both times. The first time, I had to fill out all the paperwork and say, I've taken all 5 of these medications that you're already asking me to retake, and gave them my medical records that showed that I had taken them and failed, and they let me stay on my medication. The second time, I got smarter, and I learned about the Med Form 3500A. It's a voluntary form that your provider and yourself can fill out and submit to the FDA if you have an issue with your medications that you're trying. And believe me, we've probably all tried more than 10 medications and had trouble with some of them. If you send in that Med Form 3500A and your insurance company writes you or calls you and says, we're no longer going to pay for your medication, you now have to go through step therapy or fail first, but they call it a nicer name. You can say, I have a Med Form 3500A on file, and they say, I'm sorry to bother you, and you can pick up your medication. It's that quick, and you don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks for the appeal. It's that fast. Always do a Med Form 3500A if you have a problem with your medications. Prior authorizations is another thing that insurance companies like to do to stop you from getting the treatment that you need. And basically on this, they make your provider fill out paperwork prior to letting you have the treatment that you need. These processes can take months to years to get these passed. It's really important that you stay on top of this And in a lot of states, Power Pain Foundation is helping pass legislation that we say there's a 3-day minimum. You have to give us an answer within 3 days so that you can move forward in the process and get the treatment that you need. So that's one of the things that we work on. Specialty tier is similar. There's 4 tiers with medications. Specialty tier is one that they're using, especially like with medication for cancer. And you really want to make sure that if you're specialty tier 4, that you're reaching out and getting all the grants that you can use. And we also work on legislation to help keep some of them in lower, 1, 2, or 3 tiers instead of moving to tier 4 so that you guys have better access to them. Abuse deterrent medications or formulations is the last one I'm going to mention. And this one is new medications are coming out that are abuse deterrent. A lot of doctors are afraid to provide medications because they don't want you to get addicted, or they don't want you to abuse it, or they don't want someone else to come into your house or your child or your grandparent or whoever's abusing it and take the medication. With ADF medications, and there's multiple ways they can do it with chemical barriers, and they have ones that turn into gel so you can't crush them and put them into your veins, that type of thing. So knowing this and being able to, if you are on opiates, and ask your doctor, is there an ADF that's similar? It's the same exact medication, it just has an ADF component so that you can get past the abuser. Less than 2% of people are abusing medications that are supposed to be taking them. So what about the 98% others that are doing it right? This is to help us that are doing it right. So thank you. Way past my time, I'm really sorry, but thank you.